Good morning again. This is another CZA cast for Book 1. Book 1 of Leaders Lost. Well, let's see. I won't go into the full history of it. The story and the content sort of speaks for itself, but at least as far as the CZA is concerned, it was the very first one I put together. And if you take a look at it, you can see what the content sort of describes in terms of the context of the story and the material it represents. But let's see where to start. So when I set out to publish the material, it was after extinguishing on multiple fronts any process or effort to remedy the situation with the government, whatever legal term you want to use for that. But at the end of the day, communicating directly with the CO, communicating directly with the chain of command, communicating directly with the IG, communicating directly with the congressional offices, they all told me to pack sand. So the story somewhat describes that in the writing, but at the end of the day, I couldn't let it go. I don't know. Maybe there's deeper meaning behind that, but it is what it is. I couldn't let it go, and I wasn't going to stand for it. I just felt like, not just from a personal perspective, but from a professional perspective, we need to hold ourselves to a higher account and standard. And like I say in the story, I'm certainly no angel, but when it comes to public service, the people we represent, the family that we represent, that we work so hard for, they deserve better than that. And to pass on that dysfunction to others down the road, I just, I felt like if I was in a position to do something, then I just needed to do whatever I could to make it not happen again, or at least minimize it through awareness. Yet to see whether that's going to happen, but we do what we can do. So this was something that I felt like I could still do in publishing the material. I knew though that the way the story was written, organized, presented, what it what the material described and how it was presented, it just was not a feel-good story, obviously. And when people sit down to read books, they need to be able to connect with it and understand it. And a story's no good if people don't actually read it or engage it. So I started thinking about how people digest material in the modern day, and realized, and when you look around with social media and technology and everything else, especially young people, everything that's consumed is through 15-second sound bites and pages and posts and tweets and you name it, videos of this or that. So I realized that if I wanted this to stick and build awareness and people have access to it in a completely open and unfettered and transparent way, that would give people not only the maximum exposure to it, audience-wise, globally, I wanted to get it out there, make sure people had access to it, didn't have to pay for it, but also, I wanted the material to be able to somewhat indirectly, serve as holding, the people and processes to account and say, look, you know what you did, you know what you represented, the decisions you made, and and you can't hide from them. So here you go. But also for future leaders to say, oh man, I maybe I should rethink what I'm doing here, or the decision I'm making, because, you know, I don't want to be represented, you know, indirectly in a story like that, you know, published in such an open manner. So I thought possibly it could serve many purposes, but how would you do that? And so I started messing around with it, and you know, the idea was pretty simple. You know, how could I publish a book or material content of a story through social media? And when I looked into it, you know, there is no direct way until now, except to post, you know, the link to the book, you know, and the book would be presented in a singular user experience through other programming that the link would direct you to. And even still, the experience through that separate program, you know, whichever one you want to choose, through an e-reader, etc., you know, it's still a singular experience. You're not gaining that maximum exposure to an audience, but also, you know, I wanted there to be that interactive element with the story across multiple audiences at the same time, you know, like social media provides. And I couldn't find any examples of anything like that being done anywhere on the internet. And so I decided, well, I'm going to try. And I gave it a shot, and I started messing around with it first on, you know, a couple of the, you know, the sites. And the first time I uploaded everything, it was, you know, I was a little nervous. I had to do everything in private mode, but I had no idea whether it would accidentally get leaked or something, and whatever. But you know, I was able to make it work. And when I played around with it, I came to the conclusion that this was something unique and different, and could potentially be something very important in a new way of sharing material, interacting with material, collaborating on material, and ultimately learning from that material, you know, in the sense I described through, you know, the patent I submitted and whatnot. I refer to that process, if you will, as, you know, live, shine, and grow. I won't go into that explanation, but I just, you know, I thought it needed to be out there, not just in this instance, but I thought it could be applied in other ways as well, and you can see that through the website, etc. So that was basically the origin of not just the Leaders Lost, you know, book 1 CZA as being the first one, but it led to, you know, the growth of the other content and uses and applications. So we'll see. Maybe people will like it, and maybe something will happen with it, and you know, hopefully it'll, you know, change the world perhaps in a positive way, and help reduce some of the negative stuff that we've sort of created for ourselves through modern technology and you know, social media, etc. But you know, I'm not completely ignorant to the reality that the use of anything can be turned into something bad. So I'm weary about that. But I do think its positive applications at this point outweigh the negative ones, and I think it can be managed in a way that that whatever its application ends up becoming, it will overcome, you know, whatever negative elements for its use attempt to rise up and get out there. So that's it for now. This is Nigel. He's my Montana sidekick, and we'll talk more later. Take care.